As the girl looked up, a small lion cub fell right out of the sky, though she had no idea where it came from. The pitiful sight of the helpless cub made Emma's heart ache. Unable to leave it alone in the dangerous forest, she decided to bring the cub home with her. But just as Emma was about to close the door, a white wolf carrying a pup in its mouth suddenly rushed inside, ducking into a corner of the room. Confused, Emma gathered her courage and stepped closer to investigate. She realized she actually knew this wolf. Emma had encountered it once while walking in the forest, and it had startled her at the time. But the wolf hadn't shown any aggression. Instead, it had looked at her with pleading eyes. That was when Emma noticed its body was tangled in a rope net, leaving it unable to move, perhaps catching a familiar scent. The wolf didn't seem frightened by Emma's presence. On the contrary, it seemed to feel a sense of closeness toward her. Emma remembered a video left by her grandfather, which featured an animal friend. It was this very white wolf. Likely, her jacket still carried her grandfather's scent, so Emma took off her coat, hoping to calm the wolf. Then, seizing the moment, she carefully cut away the netting with a small knife. Once freed, the wolf simply trotted away without a glance back. Even so, seeing it regain its freedom filled Emma with joy. But to her surprise, the wolf soon returned with its pup in tow, and stubbornly settled into a corner of the room, refusing to leave. Emma was frustrated. Her peaceful home was turning into a zoo. She had planned to quietly practice the piano, and prepare for an important exam. But the sudden arrival of these animals left her at a loss. Just then, a patrol officer from the Animal Protection Association came by, inquiring about the lion cub. It turned out that not long before, the cub's mother had been heartlessly shot by hunters, and her offspring had been sold at a high price to a circus. During transport, however, the plane had crashed. Miraculously, the cub survived. It fell into a tree, struggled for a moment before tumbling into a bird's nest, then dropped right into Emma's arms. Emma initially considered telling the truth, and returning the cub to its so-called owners, but the moment she heard it was destined for a circus, she changed her mind. She resolved to keep the cub's presence a secret. Having lost her own parents as a child, and with her beloved grandfather passing away just days before, Emma understood the pain of loss better than anyone. Back home, Emma found the white wolf nursing its pup. Just then, the lion cub casually wandered over. Emma worried the wolf might reject it, but to her surprise, the cub began suckling alongside the pup. The wolf didn't intervene. Perhaps in her eyes, the lion cub was just another baby in need. Watching this tender scene, Emma felt an unexpected warmth. Over the next few days, the two little ones gradually became inseparable companions, playing and tumbling around the house every day. The white wolf returned faithfully each day to feed them both. Captivated by such a beautiful bond, Emma took out her phone and began documenting these precious moments. As time passed, the cubs grew even more attached to Emma, following her around constantly. When she practiced the piano, they would play quietly outside. The rest of the time, they stayed by her side. A few days later, the day of Emma's piano exam finally arrived. She instructed the two little ones to behave at home, telling them she would return in 2 days. She also left a window open so the white wolf could come and go freely. As expected, Emma's exam went smoothly. She stood out among the many candidates, and successfully earned a spot in the Los Angeles Symphony Orchestra. Yet, even with her lifelong dream now realized, Emma couldn't feel happy. It meant she could no longer return to care for the two cubs. The wolf pup still had its mother, but the little lion was all alone. So Emma began searching for a safe place for the lion cub. But unforeseen trouble arrived all too soon. While out hunting, the white wolf was spotted by staff from a conservation center. They shot her with a tranquilizer dart, and she was taken away. When Emma returned home, the scene that greeted her was chaos. The two little ones had ransacked the house in search of food. Before Emma could even scold them, she realized the white wolf was missing. Panicked, Emma rushed out to search but found no trace. She had no choice but to return and feed the hungry cubs first. The sudden disappearance of the wolf left Emma in a difficult position. She couldn't balance her new job with caring for the animals, so she decided to take them to the Animal Protection Association, perhaps sensing they were about to be sent away. That night they secretly climbed onto Emma's bed, nestling close to her as if pleading not to be separated. Emma's heart melted. She made a silent vow. She would never abandon these two. In the end, Emma resigned from the symphony orchestra, and devoted herself to caring for them full-time. After the wolf's departure, the two cubs began to see Emma as their mother. She gave them new names. The wolf pup she called Mozart, and the lion cub, Dreamer. Her own unrealized dreams, she thought, could live on through them. To the soothing melodies of Emma's piano, winter soon arrived, blanketing the forest in snow. The two had grown considerably, chasing and playing in the white-covered woods. Emma prepared hearty meals for them daily. Their appetites were enormous. Emma and her grandpa Jack had to haul large quantities of meat to feed them. Though he had tried to prepare himself, Grandpa Jack was still startled by their size and energy. He asked Emma to report her safety to him via the walkie-talkie every day. When the snow finally melted, the forest sprang back to life. One day, a mother and daughter came to the island to pick flowers. Spotting them, Mozart and Dreamer bounded eagerly in their direction. Worried something might go wrong, Emma rushed over to stop them, but she tripped on a stone and fell hard, her head striking the ground before she lost consciousness. Hearing the commotion, Mozart was the first to return. Seeing Emma lying motionless, he grew frantic, nudging and rubbing against her, trying to wake her. Soon Dreamer joined him, and the two circled her anxiously, crying out in hopes someone would come to help. But they were on a remote island. There is nobody around. As night fell, they still refused to leave Emma's side. Early the next morning, Grandpa Jack's voice crackled over the walkie-talkie. They had agreed to check in daily, but after multiple attempts with no response, he grew deeply concerned. Rushing to the house and finding it empty, he took his boat to search around the island. Mozart, spotting him, began howling loudly. Following the sound, Grandpa found Emma unconscious on the ground, but the wolf and lion nearby made him hesitate to approach. With no other choice, he called the authorities. Emma was rushed to the hospital. Had it not been for Mozart and Dreamer keeping her warm through the night, she likely would have frozen to death. However, because of her grandfather's call, Mozart was captured by the conservation center. There, he was finally reunited with his mother. But Dreamer wasn't as fortunate. He was handed over to the police, who returned him to the circus. The moment he saw the ringmaster, Dreamer became aggressive and restless, but his defiance couldn't change his fate. The ringmaster told his son that to fully tame the lion, they must first make it fear them. With that, he began whipping Dreamer mercilessly. Meanwhile, Emma, unable to stop worrying about them, slipped out of the hospital. She went to the police station to ask about their whereabouts, but the officers not only refused to help, they also informed her that keeping wild animals without permission was against the law. Left with no other option, Emma decided to search on her own. She soon contacted the director of the conservation center, who assured her that Mozart was doing well. His natural instincts were being honored, and he seemed content. This eased half of Emma's worries. Now, her only concern was Dreamer. Certain that Dreamer had been returned to the circus, Emma vowed to search every circus in the world if she had to. One day, a circus truck happened to pass near the White Wolf Conservation Center. Mozart immediately recognized Dreamer's roars. He howled, calling out to his friend, but the truck drove on without stopping. In that moment, Mozart made a bold decision. He would find Dreamer and rescue him. That night, he dug a hole under the wire fence and escaped from the center. After running for what felt like miles, he finally reached the circus's temporary grounds. There, he dug another hole and slipped inside unnoticed. But when he reached Dreamer's cage, he realized he couldn't open the lock. Refusing to give up, Mozart found a sturdy branch and tried to pry the bars open. Dreamer, seeing his friend's efforts, rose to help, but the branch was no match for the iron cage. The noise soon attracted the ringmaster. Puzzled by Dreamer's agitation, he opened the cage to inspect. Seizing the moment, Mozart lunged, knocking the man down, and the two friends bolted into the night. Reunited and overjoyed, they followed familiar scents through the forest, searching for the way home. When hunger struck, they sneaked into a supermarket and helped themselves to an all-you-can-eat buffet. A security guard, hearing the commotion, approached, then wisely retreated into his booth and called the police. But by then, Mozart and Dreamer were long gone. Meanwhile, Emma learned from the conservation director about Mozart's escape and his rescue of Dreamer. The director asked for Emma's help in locating them. Thanks to the tracking collar around Mozart's neck, they were able to pinpoint his location quickly. Soon, police across the city were searching for them. The circus ringmaster also headed into the forest. He soon spotted Dreamer drinking from a riverbank. Taking aim, he was about to shoot when Mozart, reacting instantly, lunged at the man. In the struggle, Mozart was hit by a tranquilizer dart. To cover his tracks, the ringmaster ordered his son to dispose of Mozart's collar, but the boy, defying his father, secretly hid it inside his clothes instead. After they left, Dreamer returned to Mozart's side, nudging and calling to his unconscious friend. Meanwhile, Emma and the conservation director, tracking the collar's signal, found the ringmaster's son. The ringmaster vehemently denied everything, claiming he'd simply found the collar by the roadside. But after they left, the boy excused himself to the restroom and quietly approached Emma and the director. He then led them to where the White Wolf had been captured, but Mozart was already gone. Time was running out. They had to find the animals before the police did. Inspired by the boy's suggestion, Emma came up with an idea. They drove through the forest, while playing the piano melodies she often performed at home. Hearing the familiar music, Dreamer soon emerged from the trees. Overjoyed to see Emma, he led her to a small cabin hidden in the woods. Inside, Mozart greeted Emma with excited licks and nuzzles, as if telling her how much he'd missed her. Emma ran outside to share the news with the others, but at that moment, police sirens echoed nearby. Quickly ducking back inside, Emma guided Mozart and Dreamer through a hidden passage. By the time the police reached the cabin, they were already gone. They emerged from a hollow tree trunk to find a lake stretching before them. On the other side was Emma's private island. If they could swim across, they'd be safe, as the police had no right to search private property. Emma urged Dreamer and Mozart to enter the water. The police were closing in, but instead of following, Dreamer turned and began walking steadily toward the approaching officers. He was creating a diversion, buying time for the others to escape. Heartbroken but left with no choice, Emma and Mozart swam for the island. As gunshots echoed behind them, Emma feared Dreamer had been killed. Grief-stricken, she pressed on with Mozart. Once ashore, Mozart, unaware of what might have happened, stood at the water's edge, waiting for his friend. Then, movement rustled in a nearby thicket. A familiar figure emerged. Somehow, Dreamer had evaded the police and found his way to them. Mozart bounded toward him, and the two friends reunited in a joyful, bounding embrace. Watching them, Emma felt overwhelming relief and happiness. At last, they could live together peacefully on this loving, sheltered island.